Oh, bleed out.
So I still think the Detroit Red Wings are going to have the last say in this, but it's pretty clear Detroit, Buffalo, Philly, San Jose, and Toronto, those are the teams lining up for Mike Babcock. The Mike Babcock sweepstakes have started. See what Nick Kiprio says about it. We'll ask you, if you were Mike Babcock, which team would you go to?
The Chef Blair Show is on the air on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Join the conversation with Jeff on Twitter using the hashtag Blair Show or call 416-870-0590. Now, here's Jeff Blair.
All right, as I said, it has started. The Detroit Red Wings have given teams permission, or opened the door, I should say, for teams to speak to Mike Babcock. The highest paid coach in the NHL right now is Joel Quenneville, $2.75 million. Mike Babcock will command at least $5 to $6 million. He is leaving for the World Championships today. He will be back on May 17th. The Red Wings have put a deadline in place of May 25th. This much we know. He was in Buffalo on Sunday to meet with Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres. He met with Tim Murray, the GM of the Sabres. He toured Sabres training facility, toured the arena, although I don't understand. I'm sure he spent enough time at that arena in his coaching career that he kind of knows where the washroom is. But anyhow, beside the point, he toured the washroom, toured the arena, and we know that he has turned down an offer from the Detroit Red Wings, a multi-year offer that is valued less than $5 million. But I would think you would expect that Mike Babcock is in a position where he would take his best offer and go back to Detroit and see if they would match it. Let's see what Nick Kiprios, Sportsnet, has to say about it. Nick has been all over the story all weekend. And Nick, is that pretty much where we are? Do you think that he will get his best offer from wherever it is, and he'll go back to Detroit and see if Detroit matches it? Or do you think maybe that bridge has already been, if not burnt, that there's been a impediment erected on the bridge?
Yeah, well, first of all, can you believe all this attention for a guy that doesn't block one shot, doesn't take a punch in the mouth, never scored a big goal? Unbelievable, the attention that this thing continues to draw. But you know, to answer your question, Jeff, I think it's a lot more complex than just simply taking an offer back to Detroit and having the match.
The first thing I thought of when this came out this weekend is, knowing how commissioners work, I've got to think Gary Bettman is pissed beyond belief that this is, if not overshadowing the playoffs. It certainly created a side story to the playoffs. I'm sure this probably driving him mad.
I think his bigger concern is where this thing ends up than just the attention that it's getting, and how it could restructure everything here moving forward. Now, granted, there's only 30 head coaches here. There's not 750 like the players. Mm-hmm. So we are talking about a selected few in terms of driving salaries up, but this will no doubt do it. You know, to answer your question a little earlier, is it just as simple as Mike Babcock doing his tour here and then taking back the best offer to Detroit to match? I don't think that's just the case here. Detroit's in a bit of a dilemma here on how much they want to spend and what they think that they're getting for that money. So we do know as of now that they do not want to go $5 million. The latest I had heard was a 4-year deal in the ballpark of 16 to 18 million. That would put him around 4.2, 4.5. And so we do know Joel Quenneville guys paid. I think the last 2 years at Joel's contract, they're at 3.25 or in the ballpark there. So we do know that it's a hefty raise off of that. So then you got to think they're around 4.5 million, but we do know, or we do believe, that someone's going to go past 5. So again, I really believe that even Mike doesn't know what he's going to do at this point. That it is an open canvas here. He's going to deal with a lot of things, including challenges, including what makes his wife happy, what makes him happy, and money will come into play, but it's one of the components of many, I think.
Nick, what do you make of the fact that, at least according to the reporting that you've done and Elliot's done and everybody at Sportsnet has done, quite frankly, other people have done as well, it seems as if the Pittsburgh Penguins, at least initially, are saying, okay, we're not interested. It seems as if the Edmonton Oilers have focused on Todd McLellan as a candidate. Does that surprise you a bit that there are teams that would be sitting there going, yeah, I don't know if we're all that interested in Mike Babcock?
Well, they are. They're all lying. In a perfect world, they'd like Mike first, but they don't want to get caught, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that way, they're sitting and they're going to hedge a little bit moving forward here to say, instead of taking second or third, best offers here, we're just going to go out there and make the perception that, maybe Todd was our number one choice, when maybe he was second or third. So teams don't want to get caught, because there will be a domino effect here. We do know that there are some pretty good coaches out there, and teams now don't want to get caught without a chair when the music stops here. So maybe Edmonton gets ahead of the curve. Toronto, we believe that they never really think or thought the last little while that they would end up with Babcock, but that doesn't mean that Brendan Shanahan didn't wow him over the weekend with a lot of things, including money. So we'll again see how this plays out, but it won't take long here. Brendan Shanahan has told clubs that he does not want to drag this out. He doesn't want any more attention that it's already getting, and I think we'll have an answer within 2 weeks here of what direction Mike Babcock's going.
Nick, if I'm Todd McLellan and I see this situation developing with Babcock, just playing devil's advocate here, why wouldn't you just stand back and say, you know what, I'm going to see where he goes?
I think it is happening.
You think that's, yeah. Because I would do that, wouldn't you? If you were him, wouldn't you do that?
Until I get an offer I can't refuse.
Yes.
Absolutely. And again, we don't know where this is going, but let's just say that Mike resets the bar here at $5 million, and that might be being conservative now. But where does that now draw Todd McLellan? And the perception is, if Mike Babcock's the best coach available out there, then Todd's the second best. So is he second best at half? Is it at 60%, 70% of Mike's salary? So if Mike ends up at 5 or 5.5, then I got to think that Todd's selling himself as a $3.5 to $4 million coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it works. And rest assured, as I'm talking to you right now, Joel Quenneville in a couple of years will go over what Babcock ends up, because his numbers are better, and he may be looking at a third Stanley Cup in 5 years. So how much would you pay for that if you're Joel Quenneville in a couple of years waiting?
Well, and especially when you consider that you look at the team he has, it's a team he started with young guys, built them up. He had, his organization had to deal with serious payroll issues. They did that. They kept on winning. I mean, in a lot of ways, the fact that he has been able to do what he's been able to do in a salary cap era is pretty damn remarkable.
Well, you need a core, and
right.
His core really is Kane, Taves, Seabrook, and Keith. And then you can sprinkle it with a little bit of Hossa, and then you've got some young players now in Saad. Andrew Shaw's come in and done a great job of being a support player, a competitive goalie. And Joel Quenneville, if he ends up staying there, can win 1,000 games. In the next 5 years, he can get to a total of 1,000 games, and right up up there with Scotty Bowman. And that's where these guys like Babcock and Glenville, they start thinking about their legacy and where they want to be finished when it's all said and done here. So the interesting part now for Babcock is, would he take a look at a team like Edmonton and say, I could take another hit a year or two, but then I could be like Joel Quenneville here and have my Kane and Taves and Seabrook and Keith with, you know, these top picks and available players to be traded with the assets that he has, and he can take a bullet here for the next year, maybe two, and then set himself up for the next 10 years. And that's the game plan for, I think, for a lot of teams moving forward is that Chicago blueprint.
You know, the one thing that really stands out to me, Nick, when you look at these teams that we've talked about, Philadelphia, Toronto, Edmonton, they've got pretty powerful or pretty well-established presidents in place, below the ownership level. Do you think that might be an impediment to Mike Babcock? You know, I look at the Leafs, and, you know, with all due respect to MLSE, there's a lot of middle management there. You know, it's if you're Mike Babcock, you're saying, okay, I don't know who the president of the organization, the president and CEO is going to be. I don't know that, but I do know that I'll have Brendan Shanahan above me. Kyle Dubas, Mark Hunter, I don't know if they'll be above me, but they're certainly there. You know, Philadelphia, you've got Ron Hextall. I look at all these. I look at this situation, and the first thing I think of is, if I want to go to a place where I want to have a lot of power, Buffalo might be the only place.
Yeah.
And Tim Murray's a well-established, you know, he's a pretty highly thought of, I think, general manager. So if I'm Mike Babcock, I'm looking at this, and I don't know if there's that place. Is there, Nick, where I can go and be the guy?
I think it's a double-edged sword here, too, because as much as Mike wants a certain amount of power, you are talking about management teams that sit there and now have to wonder how much power we want to give him.
True.
And I know he's going to want to have a say in certain things, including a trade deadline coming up. But I also believe that Mike Babcock is smart enough to say, I'm a coach. That's my strength, and that's what I do best. And now I've got to just make sure that that part is covered here. So it will be all negotiated. There's no question that whatever team he has, he'll know who he has to answer to. He'll know the pecking order. He'll know all of that. But the danger for Mike is that he now negotiates too much power and starts spreading himself thin. I think he's sharper than that. I think at the end of the day, he knows he needs to be a coach, and the one that is perceived to be the best one out there.
And he's doing his own negotiating, correct, Nick?
Yes, there's been people that reached out to him, said that they want to help him, but he feels like he can handle the process on his own right now. And I think that has to do more than anything else is to control the information. So far, I think, you know, there's the Elliot Friedmans of the world out there working their tails off to find out what's going on and do a very good job of it. But, you know, Mike also wants to keep this as quiet as possible. So it'll be interesting the next couple of weeks, Jeff.
It should be fascinating. Great work on the weekend, Nick. Thanks so much for doing this.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Love listening to you. Glad you're doing a great job.
Thank you, man. Take care.
Okay.
That's Nick Kiprios of Sportsnet. And,
Cheers for the Habs. The song called Chasing the Light for that Talking Heads. and late during denim. Late during wartime.